Hello everybody, and welcome back to the strange, and to be fair, sometimes a little bit broken world of Cities Skylines 2. My name is Jumbo Pixel, and today we are talking modding in Cities 2, as well as some news and updates from the developers themselves, Colossal Order, and a brief but interesting insight into the first major patch update coming to this game, the December 2023 major patch. So, without any more mucking around, and with what I hope to be some pretty interesting and engaging, sometimes dynamic shots of my now 170,000 population city, the city of Poophole, let's jump in and take a look at the news. And I think we might jump into the important bit, the fixes, the improvements, the patch, because of course there is still plenty that Cities Skylines 2 needs to deliver on, and that probably goes without saying. Now, in this update, they've shared a little bit about the patch. They say that on higher priority items mentioned last week, like performance improvements that are on their way, as they're reducing the cost of rendering geometry. Also, bug fixing, they say, is continuing to move forward nicely, and those mail and export service bugs are getting sorted out. If you're unfamiliar, mail sorting just isn't working in Cities Skylines 2. It seems that they maybe collect mail and then just never deliver it, so you're actually better to just delete it from your city and not have that service on offer at all. They say other high priority items, or perhaps less of a high priority, but things that they're still working on, are a fix for some achievements not unlocking, some statistics bugs for those number nerds like me out there, and also a taxi getting stuck because someone left their child inside of it. As tempting as that may be, it is but one example of those many things that are kind of hitching and breaking inside of Cities 2. In this case, of course, with the taxi, maybe not such a big deal if one taxi gets stuck. But if it clogs your entire highway, your public transit network, all of a sudden services aren't getting around, and if your city's anything like mine, also there's a huge demand for hearses all the time. Anyway, that's a tangent for another day. They say that a full list of fixes is introduced with each patch. Go figure. So check the patch notes if you're interested in more details, or of course you could watch a wonderful video like one of mine. Moving swiftly along. Perhaps the larger question here is, when do we expect this? Because a lot of what they just said, performance improvements, bug fixing. I mean, you know, you don't really need a crystal ball if you've played Cities Skylines 2 or followed its development to realize that those things are going to be the top priority. It was nice to glean a little bit of detail, you know, the taxis, the mail service, and that kind of thing, but ultimately fairly light on news. The bigger news is probably around the when. They say that we can expect this quote-unquote bigger patch, right? So not those tiny or small-ish minor updates in December. December 2023 would want to hope, before they go on holiday break in 3 weeks' time. So at the moment, the date recording this video is the 22nd of November. 3 weeks' time, of course, puts us roughly in the middle of December, around the 19th. It seems likely then that we might expect a patch update somewhere in and around Monday the 11th of December. That's my guess. I'd encourage you to also throw a dart at the wall and see where it lands. I have no inside information. In fact, in full disclosure, I'm not longer even part of a Creator Insights Discord, where a developer might share things like patch notes or seek feedback from people who are making videos about their game or covering their game or whatever that may be. Once upon a time that thing did exist. I can't seem to find it anymore, which means there's one of two reasons why I can't find that channel. Either it's been removed because the game's been released and they're most likely now focusing on public forums fully instead. Or I suppose alternatively the problem could be me. But regardless, to be fair, it's more of a privilege and an honor to be a part of something like that, rather than a right or an expectation. But the point of this disclosure is that I don't have any extra information than you. So when I say, oh, it could be about the 11th of December, that's just me guessing either a Friday or a Monday, because I deem those days more likely for some reason, and then just kind of plopping it in and around the middle of December. So there you go. That's what we can expect. Now let's move through and talk about the second big part of this week's news update, which was actually what they put first, but I've deemed that you'll find it slightly less interesting, and unlike a lot of videos, I think we should put the interesting stuff at the start. I don't want to bait you through into watching until the end if you don't want to, but hopefully you do. So let's talk about modding. It's important to put modding into context as well. Don't forget, it is technically possible already to go out there and create your own mods, or indeed install your own mods. And Colossal Order sort of indirectly, well, somewhat indirectly address this in their update. Obviously not directly linking you to where you can get them, but stating that Cities Skylines 2 released with an unfinished version of the editor. Was that developer mode too, and it didn't take long for it to be found. They say that modders took no time to figure out how they could create maps and started to advance the editor tools to their liking. So if you would like to, you can go out there and unofficially find some mods to install and play. Of course, you should do that at your own risk, and viewer discretion is advised, though you can find plenty of opportunities where people have played these successfully. With that context out of the way, let's see actually about probably what most of us are interested in, the official news. So, the official news for the editor is not, to be fair, great, amazing news. It's not, hey, the editor's ready, surprise, and you can use it with the actual game. But it's still good news, I would say. They start by saying that the current version of the editor, which you of course can use and actually can sign up to early access to, is reasonable and working, and they don't want to discourage people from working on mods, trying things. They just want to share some expectations, mainly that there'll be some notable changes happening to it, and that will affect how maps are saved. The bottom line, they can't guarantee that maps saved on an unfinished version of the editor will actually work in the game in the long run. They say that they're testing the map editor. There are already changes to water placement and landscaping tools. So any tools made touching upon those are also likely to break down. The editor, they say, will be released early next year. So until then, don't stop, keep working hard. Now, it gets a little bit better than that though, particularly if you're interested in actually creating stuff here. Now, this isn't only true because that they've basically updated some wikis, some guides, more information about asset creation. However, there are no instructions inside of that for level of detail models. That's because they're working towards an automated system on those LODs, so you wouldn't have to worry about them unless you actually want to make them by hand. More importantly though, they'd like to invite all mod, map, and asset creators to join early access to the editor for just a few weeks before its release. Again, early next year, so that you can see what it's like, test out some things that you may or may not have already created, and crucially, of course, share your feedback with them. So, if you are interested in taking a look, an early access look at the editor before it releases in early 2024, there's a sign-up form linked in their post, which of course, as I always do, I'll link all of the sources that you see on screen or that I reference in the description below. So you can jump down and follow the link, basically to a Google sign-up sheet, this one here, where you have to provide a few details and a little bit of an explainer about kind of what you want to do. They say that their criteria is largely based around your modding experience in the past, mods that you've created or used, potentially, across mainly Cities Skylines 1, though they do make reference to other games here too. So maybe you have the credentials to get early access to Cities Skylines editor before it rolls out early next year. Thank you so much for joining me and for watching this video today, everybody. A very quick lightning fast update at the end here. I'm having a relatively minor surgery toward the end of this month, and I'll need some time out from my full-time job completely, and also from content creation for a little bit. The good news for you is I'll have maybe a bit more time to create content as I'm recovering, because I won't be in my full-time job, but you should expect some delays moving forward. However, I will likely see you next week for this news update, and of course when the big patch drops. See you next time.